Third time's the charm for the match 3 of NA East, and you better be watching all 3 walls of your base while you edit out the 4th. NA East is underway, it's DreamHack Open, and everything is heating up.
That it is. Benji Fishy started off strong in game number 2. Started off pretty decently in the first game too. Almost got in towards that end game, but it was Dubs who ended up taking the win off of basically taking 2 mythic bosses down. The first one was Cease, who he chased out in Lazy Lake, and the second one Frist in the end game to pick up Caddy's grenade launcher, and he will launch himself to the win. It's game number 2 underway.
Yep, the third game is about to start. The battle bus has been revved up and people are dropping everywhere. Animal is on your screen. This mysterious man also is dropping really late. Your Fertilla will be followed too. So far, it's been kind of 2 separate parts of the leaderboard who've gone all up top and had to say and exactly what's going on here in NA East. Dubs has been one of them. 90 points currently. He sits at 5th place. I'm tuning in also and seeing where Trashy will be over here, but it'll be a long landing for a lot of these players.
Yep. And Dubs will start his point gain. Obviously fell earlier on in the first game, but now in the second, catapults himself up towards the top, and hopefully he'll continue that. We need to see that from the players all through with some consistency, because the top, basically 5, all pretty much only gain 5 or 10 points, and the rest of them now start to overtake Animal a little bit slower. Same with Cease. I think Cease has now pushed off a couple players, because usually he's finding some early game elims, and Animal will find one on Spike, who last game was on the outskirts of the map.
At this time, people looking like henchmen in a spot where there shouldn't be many inside Authority, but it's all good. Animal starts to rev up his games, but at a mere, I believe now, 19 points. He's a little bit further back. Clicks 2 at 38. There's a game where you kind of turn the tides. It has to be game number 3, 4 or 5 at maximum in an 8-game format. He's at Pleasant Park, his hometown. It has been for so many seasons. Finally back to normal. A bunch of chests there that weren't in the previous weeks of the season. But he's up against Titans of their own class, Neff, Agers, and one more. 4 people in total at this POI.
The other one is Mongrel. I don't know how Clicks continues to attract this crazy attention from high-tier players, but it's a snipe on the back of Neff. Neff, unaware that Clicks can come down from the basement house and fire up as he tries to rotate from Dog to the center house. Still possibly needs to go through 2, but Clicks might even just back off and leave Pleasant Park now. Has to do a little bit more scouting, but playing so carefully, blocking every build. Mongrel on the other side, he might actually have to fight against Agers. And the funny thing too is that both of these guys were landing at the Authority just 1 game ago.
Sometimes the backup plan is someone else's backup plan too. I'd be scared though if I was Agers. Mongrel, when he has lower HP, starts to get so much more refined in his fights. Takes risks that, yes, are large, but the reward is so high and he never really misses. So I never really think there is a risk in the first place, but he's going to be disengaging completely, looking to heal up somewhere else first instead of taking the fight, and that is smart because games are starting to run out.
46th place finish earlier on in the day in EU was not what Mongrel wanted. Continues to struggle, at least in grand finals. He will go more towards Clicks, and this fight might actually break out. Agers also potentially could join, but he's actually disengaged in the other direction. Mongrel might push more, but gets beamed slightly, so he might have to back up.
These are 2 0-point players, if I'm correct. That's what we're seeing in game. These guys have not had any identity on the board.
Clicks has something like 30 as he made it towards the end game in that last one. You remember he got a couple of elims as he was rotating around from Zexor, but Agers is the one who's 0 points, and he's leaving on the other side. Mongrel now has control of Pleasant Park, but there's not much loot left here. They instantly and quickly scavenge the entire thing. Something about Clicks landing here in Pleasant Park is last season it was a lot stronger than it is now. You could get the heavy snipers from the henchman chests that were down below in the basement. The secret lair, essentially. This time, it's all just the normal chests that were here since the beginning of time, essentially. So maybe a little bit of change for Clicks in his playstyle as he moves out of Pleasant Park.
The dynamic of that base too, different layers of height with the helipad basically open. at all times. It definitely is a different experience, and one when you have these players you want to move straight away and farther from. Still, it seems like these 1v1s are finally not getting too heated, cooling down. Larger amount of players left alive. I'm not seeing the same names taken down in the feed that we saw in games 1 and 2. That means there's room for Trashy to still move forward, low risk in early game. There's room for Creo to climb back. We saw him getting into multiple 1v1s, but there's also still room for these fights to break out at the later portions, at the rotations past the initial POI. A clap straight back. Mongrel's like, no, this is how you snipe. We hit heads.
They might continue to brawl as Agers is struggling to find somewhere to drop. Mongrel will take him out now. A return shot. Meanwhile, at Lazy Lake, it's Illis and Cracked who are fighting here. Benji Fishy wants no part of it, although maybe now might opt to stay here. And this is what Benji's really, really good at, finding spots to fire upon players. The RPG spray will be unprepared for, I think, in Illis and Cracked. He might force them to fight all the way till the end, but Paper also looming. Opportunity might now be gone for Benji, and he makes a decision to back out.
I'm the most worried for Illust here because we've seen what happens when Cracked is on the back wall. He always goes all in. No regard for human decency or life, but he's going to be caught in that process by Illust, taking him out. He has his second elimination overall in the competition, and maybe this time he can go towards placement.
Paper in the background too. Mohammed SR4. In an update on everybody in the server right now, Booga is on the outskirts of the map, rotating off of the yacht. It looks like he had very, very great success. A fight between Cease and Animal underneath. They end up dueling again, and it will be Cease who wins against Animal, unfortunately. And Cease gets the grappler one more time. Hopefully this time he doesn't run into Dubs as he makes his rotation. This first zone comes. This is where Booga had his struggles again against Zexo and Clicks. He didn't really struggle too hard as he just went kind of around them, but there was a potential for something large to break out.
Yeah, roadblocks basically. And you know this man's so good at following a game plan. As soon as the thing goes awry, I feel like that's the whole mental, that's the whole tournament basically throwing at least for a few games until he figures it out. Snazy, though, will be remoting in from a different region entirely and playing really well, too, with 51 points in total. That's above the top 50, somewhere in that top 30 zone. I believe 30th on the dot. 15 cabbages, but I don't believe he's going to be supporting Savage in this one. It's all him in this solo competition.
Man, that was something crazy. Earlier on in the day, the amount of support the Savage was getting, he almost pulled it off, but did still pull off something magnificent. Second place. This time, though, it's his counterpart in Benji Fishy who's pushing the pace for NA. Although, as we look at Mr. Savage, things do look fairly nice for him. He moved much earlier than Booga did, as he's already passed Zayt Hill, and he's taken a rotation path away from that area, more towards the west of the map, so they end up not engaging. Here's Zexor still at the orchard, or still moving through Frenzy Farms. Because he's more centered, he doesn't have to move as early as everybody else. Something that Bizzle has always been a prominent supporter of, is those center map drop spots. I saw Frist in the feed having some success again, as he picks up one and probably has that shockwave launcher. Shio, we were discussing in the break how he has gotten it twice in a row, and we're wondering how that's happening.
I mean, things are changing because before there weren't really any eliminations on the board until we saw him in the end game. Maybe one or two near mid, but this seems like a fast elimination. Maybe it's somewhere near Lazy Lake, and maybe it was at his POI, but if someone is dropping Caddy, you're going up against someone Frist, confident, first place in the semis. It's not an easy fight. You're desperate off another drop that's not working out. I'm predicting Agers maybe is there in the next game. And that'll be huge because that's more points for Frisk to collect earlier on before anyone else can. Snazy, though, on the back foot of Clicks, who's itching for a fight. He's taking out all the shields. These walls will not be able to be held all the way from across the ocean. And now Clicks has a lot of momentum, 2 eliminations, full mats, and a wide array of shields to choose from.
And taking out Snazy will mean Clicks will be able to overtake him if he has a little bit more of a better game right here. Every single Elim that you get ends up being somebody that you can overtake. Savage onto Trashy. This is a big fight as well, especially given that Trashy is at the top of the leaderboard. He might end up falling again early to Mr. Savage. It seems like he has a great advantage, and he has a pepper too. He could end up trying to phase into the box if he so desires. It will be a phase through and possibly a cone, but no, Trashy breaks it. Nades coming in too. That will slow things down, although they missed the target, so Savage continues on to Trashy's box. Got to be careful of the pre-fire. And the ping difference here. Savage, there it is. He gets down all the way. No shield left, and Trashy will almost get another shot. Mr. Savage now will have to pop these minis and these big pots. But look at how many players are in this area. Spicy Commandment and even more on the coast. So with the pepper pop now, I think that might be Mr. Savage's cue to back right out because this is getting so dangerous.
He's gonna have to use a lot of materials if he wants to do so, still making sure his shields go all the way up. Has he used too much though to leave? Is he invested enough to keep chasing down Trashy? It seems as such. Pepper in play gets him up from up top. There's no floor to actually block him, but Mr. Savage's timing is slightly off. His tack shot's there though. The Trashy's aim that lets him down.
And Savage is so good in those situations where he ends up in a box and then the stair will block. And because it's his opponent's stair, the quickness that Savage is able to fire a tack shot at the stair, break it and replace it with his own is so fast, faster than pretty much any other player, but such an important fundamental box fighting skill. And even with the ping disparity, he will make it work. That's a big pickup because Trashy again is at the top, or was at the top of the leaderboard, but falling there again early game means that other people will start to overtake and other big games will start to rise way up into the top 3.
It's a chance for basically everyone. We saw the things that are happening over at Caddy. There is indeed someone contesting immediately off spawn and actually giving Frisk a run for his money, making that fight last way too long than it's supposed to. So it could spell trouble, but right now he's looking all clear. Jelty, we saw the way he played yesterday. It was kind of all about the same game plan, just making sure he waits for his zone. He can really capitalize off of. This might be it because he hasn't had to rotate too far away from his early drop spot. 25 points. Is this the pedestal game to boost him all the way up towards the top? Since Bala mentioned Trashy's gone, he's out. The other thing to consider too, Storm Surge, 5 people need to go down. Trashy's or Jelty's one of the players who's in a situation to land a little bit of damage. He gets some down on Carry, who is not covering his walls fast enough.
Oh,
this
no.
looks like a fast game for Jelty. Carry not actually there, I guess, mentally.
That was unfortunate. He still had pre-edits, or at least he had a pre-edit. I'm not sure why, but I think just when he was editing those down, unfortunately, Jelty was able to predict that that was coming, and he will unfortunately fall and make a blunder. Mr. Savage, though, has spotted that that happened, and he will get a little bit of materials out of that. Yes, he maxes back out. Good decision there. He even gets the extra whip, but there's a player in his box all of a sudden. Oh my goodness, a free Elim. A free 5 points and a free siphon, too. And his pick of the litter in terms of weaponry and utility that he wants.
But think about where we are right now with the zone, with the timing in the game. 400 damage above Surge, yes, but everyone is not moving the zone. They're stopped here looking for fights so they can up their own Surge and make sure their agenda for the game is safe. Savage might already be doomed. He has to go and move past the puzzle. That might be so much more difficult just based on the timing of the zone. Tayson and Bonus also right next to the circle will be fighting head to head. This is builds at actually a lot of different names combined into one. There's no way he survives this.
What a risky play. And it is Tayson who finishes him off. At the same time, a big fight. Benji versus Aspect. Aspect, one of the original very strong young players coming out at NA East. Benji will challenge now. I think he has the advantage, although backing up to his old build means that he might decide, hey, this is enough of this. I might have started with an advantage, but as time ticks, there's other people who will join the fight, and I don't want anything to do with that. Or possibly what he's doing is scouting for a minute to see if there's anybody joining the fight. Eventually, no. Clicks in the background, not too far away. Bucky as well, and there's the big Ronnie too. It's interesting because at this point, right, there's not anybody super in the lead. There's not anybody really solidifying themselves up ahead of anybody. So I think that this game will be that opportunity for players like Benji.
But it's locked right now. We're in that kind of base mode where everyone's just in boxes playing for info. So whatever's been done early game, I guess Mongrel has a slight advantage. People with 1 or 2 elims have gotten their game already rolling. The rest will have to wait for that half and half to play. Get their picks on rotations. Right now we have a little bit of, I would say, flexing between 2 players, Benji and Aspect, looking for absolute power on this little hill.
But Aspect will only have a pepper to play with, basically. I like the term flexing between them, but let's start moving around the map and trying to spot anything else that's happening, because we saw Booga in the background. I've mentioned clicks already. DGen directly underneath here.
The 2 things I want to see is on the left side, who exactly is over. And I think that's Retail, might be Lazy Lake, and then towards the right side, who has control of that big mountain.
All right, they're done. We stopped it.
I mean, there's a reason to this, right? And I think there's a reason Aspect is the one using more emotes than Benji here. Walk with me through emote analysis. Look at his loadout. Just peppers, right? Benji's got everything for him. He's looking confident. Aspect's just trying to get maybe a reaction. A tell less than maybe there's a weapon switch. He can see through the metal. What can he fight for? He's looking for anything. It's Benji who gets right in with that utility. We know Aspect doesn't have much. Jumps all around. He's taken out. Yes, he is. Benji gets it.
Hey, he reads the weakness that Aspect was basically trying to signal. And he will end up falling from that. Just because a little bit too many emotes. Benji was like, nah, man, I understand what's going on right now. You do not want to fight. And Benji will take advantage of that. It's well played. Messaging received. And I don't play any of those games. Another crash pad for Zone. Rift Mole directly underneath, but he breaks the line of sight. And I think he might be slightly outside of Zone.
That's fine, though. The combination of a pepper with a crash pad, it's basically like reaching the end of your half pad with a regular launch pad in an instant. Benji basically gets to decide exactly where he wants to be based off first the metal already rolling in a double RPG onto Divine, and now everyone's on the same layer. One master of the ring. The scuffed edit makes it so that Benji's actually late to the party, and Naze will make it so that the door is actually closed on the club. But it's all good. He actually gets taken down hard. Maybe a nade hit combined with beams. Now Divine is actually in the fray too. Higher health than Benji. He might just sneak in a shot towards the build. 5
Mr. Savage on the backside. I can't believe that everybody is ending up fighting on this. Benji low, Mr. Savage low as well. Divine too. He's somehow, some way escaped the spray. Mongrel down. It feels like all the EU players are getting targeted right now. And Benji will end up falling. Unfortunately, that means another player who had an opportunity to really rise the ranks is not going to have that chance. Dubs, though, is also one. Same with Rocks, as they both pick up eliminations of their own. And there's the duo down.
The scariest thing would be those guys all the way up on the mountain, and it hasn't had to move, and the zone is near there. Divine, though, is looking to get back in this game with a pick on the slacks. Will he have the wall? Yes, he will, but it's a charge shot he has to answer to. And although he has a response for it, now there's so many more questions as to where he must go. Low HP, not too much utility, and look at the obstacles in the way.
A mountain, a bunch of strong players, and I think the 5th zone is going to be where the mountain is, and Dubs is sitting still in the center, directly in his cone, comfortable as all. Same with Rocks. They've gotten the power position. They haven't had to have any struggles rotating, although Dubs with an empty inventory slot means that he maybe has possibly already used all of his shield potions to get to where he is right now. But hey, it works because he's in top 50, starting to accrue placement and also potentially moving towards the end game.
Let's delve into that top 10 just a little bit as these guys actually rotate. Straw Hat Charlie, he's down 2. We saw Walkman. He's right beside Dubs up there. This is basically the top 10 at the tippity-top spot of the map. Wrigley is looking to beam all the way up 2 on that leaderboard. Dubs, though, is the one with the vision. He almost gets another pick, slightly influences it. But these are the 5 to 10 players controlling the entire map.
Fine with the nice pepper rotate, he gets in, but again, the spray makes him waste so much, but he got a couple of elims on that backside the last time this happened, so he's still looking A-okay, although no shield. Zex are up in the game, he finds one. Booga's right above, I think possibly one of the most consistent players up to this point, but not quite reaching the status that he had in the consistency at the World Cup, which was top five in so many different games. Obviously that first one so memorable. 6 zone goes up even further northwest, I think in flat ground as it comes down off of this mountain. Yes, that's over towards the bridge by retail, so things looking good. Who's on height? And I still don't see Frist. Oh, what a shot from Dubs. That makes 2 or 3 elims now for him. As we tune in with Clicks, who has to take a med kit, and that's a lot of time right now, but he's got all of that because zone favors him.
Everyone's got to be scared. Dubs is online. I'm talking about 2 burst shots that are getting fast eliminations on people who have more than 150 shield. I'm talking about prime positions too. Right now, Clicks is not going to be in one completely, but he does have a launch pad to catch up to everyone else who is. Launches out all around. 6 zone is starting to move. Storm storage won't be a thing just yet. A slight miscalculation from Clicks, but he's already up in the air. Dubs with another elimination, a quick pickup. He is soaring up the leaderboard.
Yeah, but you got to be so careful because Clicks just took out Rox as well. Rox was up to the top. Clicks might even start joining in the top 5 if he has a good game here, but scuffing a little bit. A couple of edits flubbed multiple times now. Booga's still in this game. 2 Clicks in the box. He has to win the aim duel. The edits are so quick from Clicks, but not quick enough. As if he went the wrong way. It's Liqueur who will pick him up, and he also gets a ton of floppers out of this, but Dub's still up, and he's got 4. Booga close to height too, although still I see no sign of that shockwave launcher. I hear the glider gun though.
131 points is 100% first place, but how far can Dubs actually push it? You mentioned Zextro. This might be his game to win too. Rarely does this man lose off of height. Divine has had such an experience getting to this point, has his shields up. His loadout actually looks really good. He was scuffed in shambles before, but 5 eliminations through all the turmoil. He has an entire game to play in front of him too. It's a pop-off moment. A lot of builds, but he chooses to go straight to low. It's Cody who takes over Zextro on height. Divine still controlling things down on low. Riftmole, we saw him take out huge players. He's taking down on HP. Booga in Storm floppering. He might be the new height controller soon. Zextro, though, reigns supreme.
And here we go, Divine with 6 eliminations too. So 2 players who are absolutely popping off right now. It's him and Dubs, and they're face-to-face layer on layer. And Divine will switch that quickly. He doesn't want any of that because he's running out of materials right now, and he wasn't able to take a fight. It's Cody with the shockwave launcher, and he takes out Zextro. That potential gone. He's not going to be an end game off a height like you mentioned. There's still a couple, though, who could be a threat. Dubs and Booga still up in the top 15. That means Dubs for sure is rising way up, but can he actually completely capitalize? That's going to be the big question moving forward.
We're in retail row, and it's looking like Fortnite nightmares once again for everyone down below, but Cease is hanging on by just 1 thread. Cody has 1 more shot of the shockwave launcher to use. It might have to be right on Dubs, but it must be perfect. Dubs is waiting patiently. Suddenly, no one shoots anymore. Absolute silence.
Absolute silence. We get in the final zone. Dubs is starting to target at Cody, and this was the timing that he had when he took down Frisk in that second game to get the shockwave launcher and push him up towards the win, but now low in HP. Cody's gonna go up against the no-name player who's down below, and it's a big shot. Yes, he's done and dusted, and now we know who the remaining threats are, but still 7 alive. Walkman takes out Divine, but gets traded by another no-name. Dubs and Cease, still big threats in this game, and Paper too.
Height is in control, but low ground is where all the points are at. Paper goes down. Dubs is still surviving on low. He's playing all aspects of this game perfectly. Cody's now dropped down. He's used so many builds to actually catch up and hold this spot that he has none left anymore, and he gets absolutely engulfed by a new player, new king of the zone. He has to drop down, but what a bump from Cody. Cease is still alive. Cody no shields. Dubs on the brink of existence. He has to come into zone with a huge shot. It's not possible. Cease 1 HP. Shields are there, but that's not what's important. at the end of the circle. Cody with another big pump. It's him versus Cease. Attack will end the game. But what a performance from the last top 10 players in Game 3 of NA East.
What a game from Cease. He will make it work with the glider gun. But with that, that's Game 3. And we'll be moving towards Game 4 right after this.
Hey everyone, Kelly Link here, and I'm your host for the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite. And of course, you guys listen to a lot of our favorite DreamHack music while it's going on, so I'm going to be rating a few of those songs. What is this? Is this some, like, YouTube royalty-free music? Oh, that was very short. I don't know. I felt like I was in the intro of a sitcom, so I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 full houses. Ooh. All right. This sounds like an anime intro, and I'm all about anime intros. Oh, okay, it's done. I was about to get even more hype. I'm gonna give it, 9 out of 10 Narutos. I'm walking alone. This is your dome. Cold. I'm going home. Am I in an episode of True Blood right now? What's happening? I'm walking alone. Going home. I'm walking alone. This is your dome. I'm walking alone. Okay, I'm kind of confused of what that song was or what genre it would fall under. I kind of just imagine myself wearing a cowboy hat and looking out my window on a rainy day in my truck. But I'm going to give that 16 out of 20 question marks. It was pretty good. Ooh. So that's going to probably be my winner for all the songs. That's definitely a 10 out of 10 grooves right there, man. Well, I guess you guys now know what I think of the songs that you hear on DreamHack Open, but let us know which song was your favorite, of course. And don't worry, we'll be getting right back into the Fortnite action very soon. Welcome back, everyone, to the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite, where we just finished our 3rd game of the day. It is grand finals with 100 players coming all the way from hundreds of thousands of players in the Open qualifiers, and they are fighting for that top spot, 1st place. And with 5 games left over, Bala and Shayo, it really is still anyone's game.
Yeah, but the leaderboard's starting to solidify themselves, and one player in particular who's rising up to the top is Dubs, and that's because of consistent play in these last 2. Obviously fell quite early in the first, but still other people too. Walkman, Stretch, they're all starting to get game after game that is not necessarily winning, but at least in terms of consistency, they're rising up.
Well, I know you guys want to jump into the game right away, so let's jump into the highlights to see some of those top plays that we saw in game number 3.
All right, the best plays right now were those early game fights, some snipes, clicks here onto Neff. It was the story of Pleasant Park and ego checks. Mongrel Agers here too. They traded a few shots as well. Some pickaxe fights around the map. I don't think we saw this one on the mainstream for the game, but Gage versus Shade. Not sure who comes out on top. I'm gonna guess Shade because he got the first hit, but it's all sorts of fights all around the map.
And to talk about that rising tide of consistency right now, I'm looking at players like Cease, who start to make it towards the end. Players like Booga, who's on your screen right now, who always seem to avoid the most dangerous situations, and this was a moment of the match. Cody, who seems to be actually winning out the Shockwave launcher this time against Frist, although we might get evidence of what happens. A nice pump shot. Cody is basically hitting everything in that endgame.
Yeah, this man, I'm not sure if someone magnetized his charge shotgun or if they buffed Kit and we didn't see what those changes were, but he hit shots that he was not supposed to be hitting around builds. It was insane to watch.
Yeah, walk me through the end game there, Bala, where Cease was able to clinch the win. It looked like it was going to be Cody's game.
Yeah, it definitely did, but Cease stayed controlled, stayed calm, and was able to actually lock up a couple shots. And as it went into that final zone, it was difficult to tell, but Cease did it.
Well, let's take a quick look at the top 20 leaderboard. Ball, I believe this is something that you said right before we went live, that the story is kind of about the big players, the big names that we all know in these Fortnite competitions aren't performing right now.
Yeah, what I meant by that was kind of that they missed on the first game, right? So like they weren't at the top when it started, but they were playing more consistently than everybody else, right? They were making the top 20. And then once they start getting going, like Stretch, who's starting to get top 10s game after game, he rises up, and same thing with Dubs.
Yeah, Shio, looking at the top 20 right here, Dubs in first, and then we have Walkman in second, Stretch in third, Paper in fourth, and Nico in fifth. Is that surprising to you at all?
Not surprising at all. For me, it's kind of happiness for both Nico and Paper. I believe Walkman, Stretch, and Dubs, the way they were playing for the semis and the opens as well, they were still placing near the top. They were always in top 10. We interviewed Nico. He was talking about winning the entire tournament here today. He's never actually in the top 5 slots until, game 5 and 6 usually starts. He's early this time before the halfway mark. That's really cool to see.
Well, let's pull up the drawing board right now and take a look at where you guys are. Actually, let's look back at game 3 where the action took place. And where do you think the POI is for the 4th game?
I'll dodge the POI. We'll come right back to it, but it's mountains before that. Towards the end of the game, this entire section basically is where a lot of these peoples are basing up. This mountain in particular, we have control of this when the half and half zone starts with the 4th zone, and then after that, it's just easy claps afterwards. It's so easy for people to just wrap things up.
I thought you were about to play tic-tac-toe with me. No, I'm thinking Fortilla right now because that's Dubs, and Dubs needs to be stopped. As he makes his rotation out, he played on the dead side, which was really nice as he moved into Lazy Lake, and then find himself a really nice position on top of this mountain, which was the only high ground as we moved into that final zone. That's the key for him, is finding these good positions without any trouble throughout the mid-game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about mid to get there. You have to play through early. Kelly asked about POIs. For me, it doesn't have a name on it, but it does have a lot of heat. We saw it when Booga passed by. It's the Orchard. Zexro's there. Clicks was somewhere nearby before. Now he's all the way over at Pleasant, which has some people who jumped over from Authority. So we have basically the Bermuda Triangle of Fortnite that's active at the moment, and it's a complete zone of utter chaos. We don't know what to expect and who will be dropping at each POI.
Bala, did you just beat yourself in tic-tac-toe?
I beat Shio. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, guys, that is going to be it for our wrap of game number 3. I know you guys want to jump into game number 4 to see how this pans out, and we're going to be doing that right after this break.